Okay, apparently I am live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mind Scrambler podcast. I am your host, Spike Spencer, and today I have a special guest, this man right here, this guy, Rich Magallanes, and you might know some of his work. I'll go real fast. He is overseeing production on things that you might have heard of, like, I don't know, SpongeBob, SquarePants, Fairly OddParents, Danny Phantom, Invader Zim, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but more importantly, Rainbow Butterfly Unicorn Kitty,
yes,
which is an amazing show that I'm in a little bit.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll talk more in a minute. But Rich, introduce yourself to everybody.
Hello. I think you just did it all for me. Rich Magallanes here. I worked at Nickelodeon for a little over 18 years, and then over at Saban Brands for another 3 years, doing other show creation and development and production stuff. And then that's where Rainbow Butterfly Unicorn Kitty came out of. And then I went over to Funrise, which is a toy company. And then over the last year and a half, I've been, I kind of jumped off the executive surfboard, as I like to say. I was riding the big waves and I wanted out, man. So I just kind of like jumped off the board and cut the cord. And after doing the Rainbow Butterfly Unicorn Kitty, I thought it felt natural to me. It felt organic, and I wanted to pursue my own stuff. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm sure we'll talk about all this, but that's what I've been doing over the last year and a half. And so there you go, consulting.
Yeah, and we met through we did Rainbow Butterfly Unicorn Kitty, and that's when I really remember meeting you. And chatting with you, but you worked on Get Blake as well. Which now, what did you do on Get Blake?
So on Get Blake, I was the executive in charge over at Nickelodeon. So basically, network executive. And people sometimes wonder what that title means, executive in charge, and all that stuff. And what my role was specifically over at Nickelodeon. You're basically like an executive producer. In layman terms, but you're doing it for the network. So you're overseeing every aspect of it to make sure that everything's being driven to the network standards. But also, I've always been a little more creatively involved. So, a lot of the executives are, and some aren't. Some are just there to sort of chaperone and make sure that, network standards are being followed. But I think it's gotten more and more toward, for all EICs, NVPs, that they sort of wrangle the show. They help develop it. They help create it in a way. But it's an odd thing because you don't really get credit for it. Like the creators are there, they get the credit, and they should. And the executive producers, there's executive producers on top of that, and then there's you, and you are you're the money, and you're the guy who's representing, who's paying for it all. And so you get to say all the checks and balances of, yes, we can go that route. No, we can't. But when you're creatively involved, like I was basically, and most of the people that I worked with or that were working under me or whatever, we all kind of got creatively involved in the shows, and you got in the trenches with our shows, with our creators. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. So I think, like with Get Blake, I think a similar thing happened with Rainbow Butterfly Unicorn Kitty. I know we're talking shop here, and we'll get into other stuff in a minute. But I was just curious about that because I was Mitch in Get Blake, and when we were like, "This is so much fun! What a great show!" And we're all like, "Yeah, it's gonna go." And then suddenly it's like, "Where is it?" Because a new president had come in or something over at Nick, and as they do, sometimes they go, "You'll go over here." And is that what happened with that one and Rainbow, or?
Rainbow was a different situation. Get Blake for us was an acquisition, and it was coming out of France, so it was an international project, and we didn't usually wrangle those as much. But the other executive on the French side, he was somebody that I knew really well, and also I just thought the show was really cool, and I also knew the creators actually. So and they used to work over at Nick on SpongeBob and other shows, but they were really cool people too. So I just naturally felt inclined to sort of get in on that one and sort of help shepherd it along. And then I can't remember if there was a change up. There were so many change ups at the network that were just ongoing, and it just kept going and going and going and never really halted. Even to this day, I feel like there's still a lot of changes, although they feel like they are much more on solid ground. But it's all new people in there right now, and I think when that does happen, it does make it challenging for a show to survive, especially if you're an acquisition, which is something that we pay for, something that we don't really own. And Rainbow Kitty does fit that bill in the fact that we came to them with a show that they didn't own and said, hey, we own it. We're running it. We kind of like are producing it, and they can still have their input in on it, but they don't put as much weight into it because it's not their baby. So it doesn't really make sense for them to spend all their time on it and to, spend all their efforts. They're already paying money to put it on the network. So there was a little bit of that, but also, it just depends. I mean, the companies that I can't get into too many specifics, but it just, there's the companies that are airing it, that are programming it, which is the network. And then there's the company that actually owns it, that's producing it and so forth. They have to have a good, strong relationship and line of communication. And if they don't, things start to fall apart. And we did not, unfortunately. I really, and things were changing. Actually, when I got over to Nick, and I think this is what you were originally asking about. I mean, when I originally got over to Funrise and the RBUK started airing on Nick, it went through like some real radical changes. Like the programming person who was there all throughout the courtship of Rainbow Butterfly Unicorn Kitty is somebody that I grew up with at Nick, somebody I knew for my 18 years of being there, and then all of a sudden she was let go and a new person came in 1 week before we aired. And and then it's sort of like, that person then has the responsibility of looking at everything, getting up to speed with everything. But then you got this acquisition sitting over here, and again, it's hard for me to. I was very frustrated because we worked so hard, and then yet all of a sudden it was like, oh, we're no longer going to be on the big Nick network. We're going to go over to Nicktoons, and there was a lot of work to undo that, and we finally got back onto Big Nick, and then we're toggling back and forth, which is great because I was like, yeah, toggle, air it wherever you want, like it was. We had a lot of people on board. We had Target, we had Walmart, we had Kohl's, we had Party City. All these people signed on to the show immediately, which is amazing for a first run show without it even airing, because they signed up because it just screamed merchandise and it screamed screamed now the mashup quality of it and everything. So it was a pre-sold show, but at the end of the day, again, it goes back to a lot of politics, a lot of what's happening with the new players, and how are they dealing with it, and what is the line of communication from our side to their side. And I was too busy. I was kind of caught a little bit in the middle, to tell you the truth, because I was really busy running the show. And when you're running the show, especially the way I was.
Hey, we're fans.
I'm going to kick them out. Hold on a second.
Okay. Sit, boo-boo, sit. Good dog. Hi, Emily. Hi, Jimmy. Good to see you guys.
Hello, Emily and Jimmy. Can't see you at all, but whatever. When there's I forget what my point was. When there's when you're running a show the way I was, it was really bare bones. I didn't have a team of 50 to 60 to 80 people, in the production studio. Everything was outsourced. So as you know, when we were doing the voiceover records and stuff, we would all go to, down the street in Burbank and record it over there. Normally, if Nick has their own show, they're recording in-house. You walk from your office down the hall and you go into the recording booth, and you can easily go back and forth and do meetings and come back. And this was not the case. So it was very difficult to show run. And then, to get involved in some of the production deals and, the marketing of it, all that stuff was just, it's not really my role, but I was trying to. And at the same time, I wanted to be friendly fire, because I knew everybody at Nick, and I still got a lot of friends there now. And so it was like, I didn't want to be that guy, where they're like, after the show's over, I come back with another show or something, and they're like, ooh, tough guy.
We don't want to do that again.
Oh, yeah, he really lost his shit, I mean, can I cuss on this?
Sure.
Okay, all right. Shit.
Why not?
Yeah.
I have no problem. I do,
Good.
It happens.
It's the way
well,
I go.
I wanted to say, that I just want to kind of set that up because I know a little bit about that. And this is like the business world stuff, but it really gets down to you. I mean, being at the top like that, how do you lead yourself? I mean, that's a lot of responsibility and a lot of open, nobody telling you really what you can and can't do in several of those things like entrepreneurship,
Right.
So just as a side note, how do you have any philosophy for dealing with that? Do you wake up and go, okay, I got this, let's go, that kind of
thing. Are you talking about now as a, on my own showrunner, creator, consultant, development guy, or back when I was running, the departments?
A little bit of both, actually, because I was thinking when you're running the departments, you're still overseeing, like you said, there's executive producers, but you're the money guy. You're way up at the top, even above them, which is, who are you answering to?
Yeah.
Who tells you what to do when they say, okay, it's your show, run with it. I mean, that's a lot of responsibility and a lot of, like I say, open field there. So you have to have some way of, okay, do you have any guiding principles for something like that?
You know what? It took me, to be honest with you, when I first started, I grew up at Nick. I started as a freelance employee, and I was an assistant, and I also had this crazy title. It was like freelance story consultant, which just doesn't exist. But all I did was read scripts and give notes to writers. And I did it. I was an assistant to the actual person who did it. But then, I wasn't really answering, phones and doing stuff. I was just reading scripts and giving notes. And so it was great foundational learning for me in terms of, but I also have a background in journalism, and I got my degree in journalism, and, I was a writer and had been in production my entire college career. And, I was a news writer at a radio station before. And, then I came to Hollywood and I did a bunch of production work. But my growing up at Nick went from being an assistant all the way to senior vice president, which is actually, it's awesome, and if you told me that was going to happen along the way, I would have been like, no, shut up. What are you, crazy? And every step of the way, when I became a coordinator, damn, I'm a coordinator now, you're a manager. And it was like, yeah, I'm a manager. I'm walking around, my chest out, ooh, and then it was like, then you become a director and you're like, I got a director title, now you need to, and then it was like VP. And then I think there was an intermediate step in between VP and SVP, but it just kept going. And, when you're doing something good, you're doing something right, you're dedicated, you're passionate, you're constantly, in line with something, you're going to move up, and there's a lot of people I knew also that they were really great at their job, but they didn't ever want to be the leader, there's a ton of stress that comes with it, which is where I got to, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But for the most part, I had to learn how to be that leader. And I did that while I was in the job. Like when I first became an executive in charge, that's when you go into the room and everybody's looking at you because you're the guy that's going to give the yes and no, and you're going to talk about what you can and cannot do and how many people you can have here and what direction creatively we're going to flow. And can we hire, Spike to come on board or not, or, what I mean, all that stuff. And, and you work with the creator a lot, you work hand in hand with these people and the head writers and the producers and so forth, but you're really in the trenches, like I said before, but people are looking at you and they want answers and so forth. And I was, to be honest with you, when I first started doing it, I had 3 bosses prior to that. And I was like, okay, am I like her or am I like him? Or do I be like the other guy? And I was like, I didn't know who to be, I just decided I just need to be myself. And I like to play, I like to be like, hey, pull my finger. Okay, now let's get down to business, and I
think that's why we get along so well.
Exactly. Well, I have a rule. If I'm not enjoying it, if I'm not having a good time, I don't want to do it. And basically I probably won't. There's things that, parameters that, stop you from just getting up and walking out. But that's kind of my rule for my thumb for life, rule of thumb for life. So anyway, I had to learn, to be myself and go, it's okay to be jokey, to be friendly, and actually what it did was it taught me to be more of a chameleon, but in a honest, earnest way. So in other words, let's say there was an executive or network prerogative or rule or something that a direction we were going to like, we were now going. And I had to say that to one creator and say it to another creator. But I knew I couldn't say the same thing the same way to all the creators. You had to do it in a certain way so that they can hear you, so they can listen to you. Some people got stuck on words and, or an attitude, or, they don't like being pushed. And some people you had to like, coax them into things or let them say it, and they go, oh yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah, you got it, and other people just wanted to hear it straight out. And so when you get to know these things about different people, it's about communication, powerfully communicating and being able to do that. So that was one thing on the network side. And then, now, how I keep myself, motivated and, just inspired is it's tough. It's a whole different world. Now I'm waking up and I don't have an office. Plus I'm in the middle of a pandemic here.
There's that.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I'm trying to do consulting work. I've been doing consulting work and, I'm also writing for an international series, which I can't say, because it's not out yet, but it's weird. I didn't know I was going to end up doing that, but, yeah, man, I'll do that. I just created a new show with my partner and we are, my co-creating partner, and we're starting to pitch. And we wrote the Bible and we wrote the pilot script, and then we have pitch deck, and we're starting to take meetings. And so, but yeah, this is another project coming to a screen near you, or a tablet near you, whatever it may be, a phone near you. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, but it's believing in yourself, I think, and that was another thing for both positions. You have to sort of, believe in yourself. You have to believe, in this case, in my project, because if you don't believe in your project, you don't believe in yourself, it ain't going to happen, and so you have to overcome a lot of negative conversation in your head, on both sides, again, as a network executive, because I did a lot of, like, the hardest thing for me, I'm a self-taught man. I come from a family of 5 boys. I'm the youngest, and I'm the only one who went to college. And I did it because I wanted to. And I didn't do it because, somebody said, oh, you should go to college. Nobody talked to me about anything. I just did it. I knew I wanted something better, and I've always kind of been that way. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to finish and do all that stuff. So I had a lot of like negative process thought going in my head all the time, self-doubt. And I had to, I can talk about it now, but before I would try to pretend like, I wouldn't want to say it out loud, but now I'm like, no, it's actually empowering to talk about it because one, it's still there.
Yeah.
But executive, as a VP, as an SVP, just as somebody of responsibility at a network. And you have people around you too, who look down on you, who have the same title or bigger title and treat you because, their title makes them who they are. And I've never been that way. I don't care about that. I care about who you are as a person and who you are as a leader. And so my thing was to, overcome that negative conversation in your head and tell yourself that you are worthy. You can do this. You do have greatness in you. You can bring something to the table. And for me, that was the biggest learning curve, because again, I feel like you still ride that curve, you go through that self-doubt talk conversation, but you have to tell yourself to shut up. You have to tell yourself to be quiet. You have to tell yourself you are good. You do know a lot of people. You do have a lot of references. You've done a lot of great work, and you will continue to do a lot of work. And I just heard somebody the other day say something, which I thought was really impactful for me again, because here I was feeling like, oh man, I'm like, God, I'm like, this is like hard, I'm out there. But this, I forget, I don't want to mess up the saying. I think it goes, this too shall pass.
Right.
That's not a new saying, right? It's an old saying, but
yeah.
But you got to remember that. And they said, even if you have a high moment, you're like at the height of your career, and you've just made the biggest deal ever, or, whatever you're doing, and now you're at the height, remember, this too shall pass.
Yep.
And when you're on the low end, like the lowest thing, you just got fired, you got kicked out, you're trying to figure out how you're going to get your next bill, your next check, how you're going to pay your next bill, this too shall pass. And so I thought about that. I thought, yeah, you know what? This too shall pass. Like we will get through this pandemic area. I will have a clearing, because right now, I just got so many things going on. It goes back to that self-doubt conversation in your head. Like, are you going to make it? Are you not going to make it? Like, what, all that stuff, and it's just, it's a bit wild. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for going there, because I was going to ask you, one of the mechanisms that, I deal a lot with the subconscious mind and about dealing with those negative stories in the past and getting past that.
Right.
Do you have, we all have them. I don't care who you are, the highest of the high. There's always something that's usually from either our childhood or even generations back. We're finding now it's in the cell memory. And it's like, why am I feeling this way? I know I got this. I'm good. Like, you're getting ready to go out on stage. It's like, I've been in front of thousands of people, but suddenly I'm like, am I good enough?
Right.
Do you have any processes or techniques that you utilize to tell yourself, hey, shut the hell up?
Yeah. I don't know. It kind of goes back to, actually I do. I listen to motivational speakers a lot, and I try to remember those things that they say. And also, there's audio books I've listened to and books that I've read and so forth. And I've always been, I don't really read a lot of fiction, to be honest with you. I like reading stories about people who've overcome ginormous obstacles. And for some reason, there's a hunger in me that I've always had, and, I'll share this too, is that it was funny because the other day I was having a drink with a friend, and we were just talking, and I said, yeah, I went to San Diego State University. And he said, I thought you went to Princeton. And I said, oh, well, thank you very much. I was like, I felt like, well, I'm glad you think that, but also, that doesn't, listen, I know a lot of a-holes that have gone there, and, and they're not good people. And then there's of course great people too, but that doesn't make you, and like I said earlier, I put myself through college. But backing up, when I was very young, I come from a divorced family. My parents divorced when I don't even remember how old. And we went on welfare. We lost the house. We lost the phone first, and then we lost the TV, and then neighbors were bringing food by, and you got the same situation. Yeah. So, but when you're young, it's like, I think it just did something in my mind, like at a young age, to be like, whoa, I'm never going back to this, place of constraint, this place of needing, this place of, and maybe that's what kicked in the whole, like, I wanted something better, I wanted something, it just, I don't know if it is that or not, but, the fact that somebody had said that, and I was like, no, I put myself through college. I paid for all my tuition. I paid for all my car insurance, my food, my rent, like parking permit, parking tickets, party materials, like everything was on me. And, with no support, financially from anybody in my family, very small, if anything, and so I chalk it up to nothing, and then, but it's those things, I think, that I remember that I kind of overcame those things. Listen to the motivational speakers, like I said, and I do have little sayings, written down, and I just don't want to fail. Like I said, I never knew where I was going, but I always knew I wanted something better.
Right.
So, yeah.
Speakers, who stands out to you in that arena?
Somebody I listened to, I've been listening to him for years, and I got turned on to him from a friend of mine, is Les Brown.
Love Les.
Yeah, he's funny, and he's got an incredible story. Like my little wah, we went on welfare, and then whatever. You got to listen to his story.
Yeah.
This guy's, and the fact that he was, basically, what is he called? Retarded, mentally retarded.
Yeah, he said that back in the day. They said he was the dumb brother.
Yeah, the dumb.
He goes, "Oh, that's the dumb one." And that teacher said, "Don't ever let anyone, put a label on you."
I know exactly what his saying is that someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And I freaking love that, because I was like, that hit me also, during my years at Nick and so forth, because I always felt like some people were like, people are mean around you. You got to put on your blinders a lot of the time, and just like a racehorse. And I always, I don't think I learned this from Les, but this was just something that I think I just got it on my own, or maybe I don't know where, but it's like racehorses have blinders, and they don't forget they're in the race. They got the jockey on their back, and they're getting kicked and whipped, and they hear the hoofs, and they got the goal in front of them, and they're just going. And sometimes you have to do that for yourself, and also because people around you will try to distract you, try to bring you down. Not everybody, so a lot of people will do, cheer you on and so forth. But it's a challenge. It's a day-to-day challenge. I forget if that was the question at hand, but
no, it's great. That is a great analogy, the racehorse with blinders. I don't know if I've heard that one before, because I've listened to a lot, just like you. And actually, just a side note, I got to say, it's a little cool. I got the chance to speak on a stage with Les in Burbank.
Awesome.
As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago. Yeah. I got like 3 minutes in, and then he came out after that, him and Colin Farrell, actually. So that was really cool.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, man, that's my. I mean, I've been so enthralled with him to a point where I was like, I wanted to take his course, his class, because I was just like, what an amazing, impactful person. And I can listen to him every single day. I mean, I go months without listening to him, and then I just recently started picking him up again. There was another. There's an audiobook that I can share with you that I thought was also very. It was an incredible book for me to listen to after I got out of Nickelodeon, because it really put me on a path of like freedom and choice and celebration of it, and it was called It's Not About the Money by Bob Proctor.
Bob,
Bob Proctor. It may be a little old now, but certainly the teachings in there are not, and it's dense. I mean, that's why I went with the audiobook. I started reading it and I was like, I'll never finish this thing. But I put it on the audio book, and it didn't matter if I was flying, if I was on the beach, I would listen to a half an hour to 40 minutes. It was just so invigorating and so motivating. I just was like eating it up. And it's like 12 chapters, and they're each like an hour long or something. I mean, it's pretty dense. And you can constantly keep going back and listening to it over and over and over. And, one thing about that book that's in my mind right now is that, he talks about, getting in the dinghy, getting in the boat and rowing. He's like, if you have a dinghy, it's sitting there on the side of the thing, it ain't going to go nowhere. You got to get in and row. So I just remember him in his voice going, get in the dinghy and row, like I was so cool. Cause I was like, you're absolutely right, man. Like, you got to command your own little path, and you got to go. And if you don't do it, no one's going to do it for you. So a lot of people expect like this kind of thing to happen for them, and it's not going to happen. You got to do it yourself. So anyway, obviously I've listened to a lot of these kind of things, but those are the things that keep me going. And me too have been on stage, quite a bit, and been very comfortable with it. And then also at times just completely like, I'm going to freak out. I'm going to lose my marbles, and you don't even know what to say, but once you start going, you just go, and whatever, it is what it is. Sometimes you have your breakout moments, and sometimes you had a so presentation, or but I do love talking to people and motivating them more than anything, like when I'm on stage. I mean, whether it's talking about how to write, or how to produce, or how to pitch, or how to develop, or if it's about my career, or if it's about, for kids, because I've done that quite a few times too, for the youth. So for the youth.
Well, so there's less. I like to try to get a few so that my listeners can be like, oh, this is a new person I haven't heard of. One thing about Les, I would say, I tell anybody that ever asks me about Les, I'll say, Les, check out his in the Georgia Dome in like the 80s. It is like one of the most powerful speeches. He's in front of 80,000 people. Have you seen that one?
Probably. I haven't, I've seen.
I'm sure you've heard it. It's like his basic speech. I mean, he gives the same speech. He's been giving it for many, many years. So it's a lot of the same elements. But that was like, wow. it was just the energy in that room at that moment. And he talks about, this is the time when he really talked about how he had started and was sleeping in his office on the sofa and all of that. So that's a good one for anybody else.
Yep, I know that story well.
Yeah.
I also Zig Ziglar is also another one, but
Zig.
it's like you're talking like, some people might be like, oh, it's too old fashioned or whatever, but there's always something there to learn from those things.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things I tell people is that, look, the old stuff, where do you think the new people got their stuff?
Oh, completely. Yeah.
It's from the old stuff. I always go back to Think and Grow Rich, The Science of Getting Rich, As a Man Thinketh, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, all these things that were earlier on. And I'm like, and I see these, I'm like, oh, the big guys are saying that right there and that right there and that right there. It's like, oh. Yeah. So it's like going to the source.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Zig, Les, Bob Proctor, those are some good ones. Absolutely. Heard of all of them. The one thing, like you were saying with Bob, get in the dinghy and row. It's funny because when people see The Secret, a lot of them get the wrong message. They're like, oh, I don't have to get in the dinghy and row. I'm like, no. The secret to the secret is there is no secret. You've got to do the work so the universe can come catch you, can meet you on the way. Yeah. Because it's not going to find you.
And his book is so much, better than The Secret. You're talking about the movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is like, I don't even look at that thing, I mean, to me, it's like, I don't know if I should go back and look at, and see if there's something there. But I remember when I did see it, I was like, oh, it's not even like the same. It didn't motivate me the way the book does, the way the speakers do. It was interesting, but it wasn't as potent to me.
Yeah. Because I think it's that idea when it's like, oh, it's just that easy. And then it's like, oh, it's not easy for me. Well, why isn't it easy for me, et cetera, et cetera. And we can go into this for hours and, and it's funny because it's like, well, you just said why it isn't, because you just said it isn't easy for me. So stop saying that,
right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, so you had mentioned something you said about being aligned. You like to find the projects that is aligned and you just feel it. How do you find something? How do you center yourself and say, this is it? Is it just a feeling in your heart, or do you go with your gut, or is it certain parameters?
No, I think it's definitely a feeling that you just get inside. It's like, I was watching some people talk about comedy the other day, and comedy versus drama. And they were talking about how comedy is just either you have it or you don't. And it's not like you can't learn it, but I mean, there's some sort of innate feeling about it on the inside. I just come up with like one-liners, or like my head is very, maybe it's why this is the reason why I fell in love with animation, is because it's so animated. I just, I've always been, even way back in the day with all my older brothers and so forth, Three Stooges and Marx Brothers and all those, Charlie Chaplin, all that. I just love pratfalls. I love slapstick stuff. But there is something, there's a innate sort of feeling that you just get that attracts you to it, and then, it depends. If you're working at a network, you're trying to fill certain buckets, and that's why, when you're developing something and you're pitching something, you can't always take it personal, because you have no idea what the network is actually buying. They might tell you, but then they have their real, which is sometimes is the same thing, but sometimes it's not, and the budget, and they switch it up all the time. We were notorious for that. We'd be like, oh, we want girl comedy. We want strong girl lead. And then we were like, we need boy action. And then it was like, we need the Rainbow Coalition, everybody there. It's all about diversity, inclusivity, and again, these are all very strong and positive and very valid things to have. But it's like Russian roulette after a while. You got this show about a frog or whatever, and you're like, hey, I got this, and they're like, no, we're not doing frog pitches now. And you're like, like, what's that got to do with it? It's like, but that's literally like the insanity of like, or, I've had things where it's like, so-and-so doesn't like cats, up above. And you're like, what? Like, what's not about so-and-so? It's about the audience, if they're going to connect to this and like this or not. But it's like, well, that doesn't like cats. So we're not doing the show. And it was like, that's really flippant, but not to say everything's frivolous like that. But I mean, you do run into stuff like this, and it's, when you're trying to develop something and pitch something, you got to really sort of, again, just stay on it and keep moving forward. And eventually somebody, like myself, like when I was at Saban, my co-creating partner right now, he's somebody who brought me a project while I was at Saban. And I just connected. We just, I was like, oh my God. And I pitched back to him what exactly the show was. And he was like, oh, you get it. He's like, but not only do you get it, you're actually like taking it and you're elevating it. And so, and then it became one of my top priority shows to pitch around, because at Saban, we would, develop things and then we'd buy and sell. So I would go out and sell it, or try to. And that was, one of those things that just hit me. And I was like, wow, this is a really good natured show. But then the lead character is fun and funny. It's fantastical world. It's like, I just had the conversation with him this morning, actually, because we were talking, and I said, you have to see beyond what the project is, like the project we're working on right now. It's the same thing. It's very much needed in the world of today, but we didn't do it because of that. We just happen to have this character who's, empathetic and lovable and dimensional, and, has a fantasy place, which is really fun. And, you can go on a roller coaster ride and then come back and learn a really good, strong moral lesson. We're doing something a little younger this time, but yeah, there's a connection that you get from something when you see it. And then again, back to like, sometimes you just have something and you're like, we need a robot show. So, that's the best I've seen so far,
But no cats.
What's that?
But no cats.
No cats. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's an example, but yeah, it's true.
Yeah. It seems like you have to have an amazing way of flexibility doing what you do to take all of this stuff in from all these other places. Everything is shifting. It's like you're in an earthquake all the time, and you have to make a pie during the earthquake, which is, I mean, that's amazing. That's how do you get that skill set? You just do it?
I don't know. Like, being flexible is another thing that I think I had to grow up with, because, we moved a lot. I think I went to 4 or 5 different elementary schools because of our situation. Elementary schools. Yeah. Like, and you got to remember, having 4 older brothers and going to the same elementary school up until, I think, 4th grade. And everybody knows you. Everybody knows your last name. I was the last one to bring in the toast, And so whether teachers were like, Jesus, like they just won't stop, like there's another one, but they knew your name. They knew who you were. They knew the family, and then you go into something new and nobody knows you. Yeah. It rocked my world. And then I would be pulled out of that and thrown into another school, and it would be like all over again. Like, and my other brothers were like, everybody was kind of dispersed, and it was really like, it rocked my world. Yeah. And also it drug me down. It made me, so then I became really unfocused, Yeah. And I think what I've learned over the years in terms of being flexible was learning how to adjust quickly, and there was also a thing about being flexible where, when I did presentations, with my partner, Karen, who was also at Nick at the time, we did a lot of presentations, and we did this writing program, for, diversity, inclusion, and so forth. And we really built it, into something it was. And then she just kind of like over time just sort of blossomed it up. But it was an amazing thing, because we started out not really knowing what we were doing. And every time we got off stage, we'd say, okay, what worked, what didn't work? How do we fix it? I didn't like the way this went down. I didn't like when I said this. She didn't like when I said that. We both, fumbled this part. So then we say, okay, we're not doing that anymore. And we did stupid things. We did like, game show type things. Hey,
Yeah.
you want $100 if you get a premise that I like, or whatever. And
Right.
we're like, okay, no more of that. That's just like cheesy, and then we had to have people sign paperwork, and it became legal nightmare and stuff like that. So we stopped doing stuff like that and really started focusing on what we were doing. But it was all because we were super flexible about and focused on strengthening this program. And believe it or not, the reason why I bring this up is because we went from doing, like our presentations,
Mm-hmm.
in front of like a sparse audience, maybe a couple dozen people.
Right.
So, doing 3-day symposiums in front of hundreds of people, and things where we would set up, programs and, where everybody would come, and then, but people had scripts already pre-written, and, they would send them in and we would read them and we'd pick the top 10, and then we'd have one-on-ones, sit down with those 10 people. And then the next, you know what I mean? So we would do things like that where we just became this like mini, Robert McKee type seminar type thing, and it was really inspiring, but that was all because we were flexible and we traveled around the world, for that thing, it was an amazing journey that, all because we started out doing just these little festivals, for 1 hour, trying to get people to come in, tap dancing. Hey, come on in, you'll have fun. You might win something, and after a while, we're like, no more gimmicks. You're going to learn something, and now we got it tight. And we're going to teach you about writing. We're going to teach you about pitching. We're going to teach you about developing. We're going to teach you about producing. We're going to analyze films, TV shows. We're going to set it up and tear it down and put it all back together again, so, and that was the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Flexibility.
Well, it sounds like something that's something you're aligned with, and because I can tell you got some passion for that. You're like, this is really cool. Have you put it together? Have you packaged that together as like an online course? Have you guys done it that way?
No, she's off doing something else now.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a full career, and we haven't, and I don't know if I want to, I don't know. It's another train of thought.
Sure. I was just curious if that was out there, because I'm all about, just like you, I'm all about the knowledge. It's like, oh, I'd watch that. I want to check it out and know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, it's something to think about. Maybe we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. One of the questions I like to ask is, so this basically, my audience for the most part now is like our world: animation, anime, video games, fantasy, sci-fi, etc. And being in that realm is one aspect of it. But the other thing is, like, for example, my big geek out is sci-fi. Love sci-fi, crazy about sci-fi. I can totally geek out on it. I can't go super nerd, but I'm like, Mandalorian. Yeah, I've seen like every sci-fi there is, right? But so do you have a secret geek out in this world that you're just like, oh yeah, I'm all into that?
I don't know. I've never answered this question right. I just
people ask you this a lot.
Well, no. What people do ask you a lot is like, so, what are your favorite shows? What do you watch all the time? And I feel like it's so judgmental that I don't want to answer it, and I think I always get caught up on it because I'm like, I just went through an interview process where they said that to me.
Yeah.
And please don't ask me that, because it was like, it's like, that's one of the like interview 101A questions.
Yeah.
Like I used to ask people that, way back when, and it's like, what? Like, after all my years of experience, you're asking me what I'm watching now because you don't think that I know stuff, or you don't trust what I like, or you don't. It doesn't matter. I watch
for this realm. It's just always like where's that passion lie? If you have something that you dig, it's like, dude, I love D&D and I'm all into it. Or there's no judgment here. We love it. We're all into it.
Yeah. No, I just comedy, man. I mean, I love comedy stuff. I really do. But I do love really good, strong stories about people, so there's things like that I really get hooked on, and I think that's really like takes you on a ride, I guess, I mean, but comedy, I think is my my go-to.
Yeah. Love
really
good comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's fine. I mean, it's great because there's so much. There really is a lot of good comedy out there, and I grew up with the slapstick stuff. I think we probably saw a lot of the same thing. Like Jerry Lewis was my go-to guy forever. That's why I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan in his good days. There's really good stuff. So, so we're going to be wrapping up in a little bit here, but I wanted to ask a couple of more. You're so big on the leadership stuff, and what my people love, like when we talk about Les Brown and Bob Proctor, but when you're leading yourself, and you talked about that, do you have any particular way of keeping yourself in check? Like we had talked about, got that negative self-doubt stuff. Is there any other thing besides, to Bob Proctor and you read and motivate? Is there something underneath that you just tell yourself that just keeps you moving and keeps you leading other people? Because I know that's a pretty big deal. To be a leader is different from just leading yourself, but now you've got other people. Is there anything in there that you use?
I'll say this. I might be a little bit of a different type of leader. Mm-hmm. Some leaders like to get in front of the pack and, kind of lead them. Mm-hmm. And I'm the type of leader, I actually want to be in the back because then I can watch. Mm-hmm. And I learned that I've done a lot of physical stuff. I've ridden my bike from San Francisco to LA, mm-hmm. and for a charity. And I would be, captain, whatever for the day or whatever. And my thing was never to be like in the front of the pack, going and everybody follow me. And I just felt like I couldn't see what the hell was going on behind me and my team.
Right.
And so I immediately went to the back and I was like, you guys go. I'm going to be back here. If somebody has a problem, I'm going to be able to catch up and, flag people down. And you know what I mean? And so I really like that type of leadership, which I don't think a lot of people do, you know. Also, when I was in high school, I've always been like a very small kid. I was smallest in my family, and I got into wrestling. My brother was a star wrestler, and it kind of inspired me to get into wrestling. But I was 98 pounds, and I got on varsity, like my sophomore year. I would have done it my freshman year, but it was that one guy, I just couldn't beat him. But I had an incredible journey with that. It taught me so many life lessons about focus, camaraderie, teamwork, conformity, non-conformity, all those things. I just posted something on Facebook about that because I came across a high school picture. But I was a varsity team captain, which is completely unheard of for a 98-pound, because the team captains were usually like the bigger guys.
Right.
Yeah, they shake the hands, they flip the coin, but then like little me would come out there and but I had this thing about me where I felt like, we would when we played home matches, we had a room that we would be in, and we'd sit in the room and we'd psych ourselves out and so forth, and we'd come busting out the door, boom, and we all run in formation and then run around a circle like this around the, and I felt like I'm the first one out, mm-hmm. And I had to be like on fire, and also I was the first one on the mat. And this is the other thing I loved about wrestling was that it's a team sport, but it's an individual play.
Right.
It's an individual, battle. And so you're battling on the mat with somebody all by yourself. Spotlight. We had a spotlight on the mat. The lights down the house and giant spotlight on the mat.
Right. Oh, nothing dramatic about that.
No, it was super intense, but I loved it, man. And it taught me so much about mind over matter. It didn't matter. It wasn't really just about your physical strength. It was about, your mind. And also I loved psyching people out, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, just being a leader in terms of that definitely, became something to me. Like it taught me early on how to lead, even when you're not the usual type to be leading.
Right.
If that makes sense.
That's great. No, that's really good. It's funny because I did a little bit of wrestling in like junior high, like teeny, like a minute and a half, nothing. But I get what you're saying because I played tennis, and I was number one on the tennis team in high school. But it was like you played your match, but you're playing for the whole group because there's another 9 matches going, and if like I'm the last one of the day, and if I lose this one, we're going home, and I'm going a little bit extra for the team, which I think is pretty awesome. So that lends some credence to how to be a leader, because it's not just for you, it's not about the glory for that one person. So I get that.
Yeah, and it was also, there was something different about my high school where like all the high schools, like, so the high school hated those guys and those guys hated those guys, and all the high schools turned on our high school, so everybody just hated it. But my team, I had an awesome, incredible wrestling team and really great buddies, and we I think there was a lull from my brother's years to when we came in, so there was like a year or two of like we weren't doing so well, but then we came in and we became the school champs again, the league. And so, man, it was pretty incredible. So, and it's great being part of something like that, where you just like psych yourself out. And then the only reason why I didn't wrestle in college was because I thought, okay, this is getting too serious. I could have easily done that, because I was still in love with the sport and everything, but I thought like, it was almost military in a way. It was like, do I want to be a wrestler, or do I want to go do other things with my life? So, yeah.
Well, do you have any goals or anything that you want to share with anybody?
Keep running, man. I ran 9 miles this morning. So,
damn.
But honestly, my goals right now are, and it's funny because I don't write those down, and I just found a piece of paper where I was like, it said on there, write down goals. I was telling myself to write down my goals, and I just came across that like yesterday or something. I'm like, oh yes, I should do that. But my goals are basically to make this new show that I have right now. Well, we're making it, and to sell it, and we're gonna sell it. Like I'm selling this show. Like this is it. I'm selling this next show, and you may play a voice in that show. But we're making it. I got a shopping agreement with the production company. I got a star art designer on board. I got a star composer on board. I reached out to my heavy writers today, and I really want to make this a reality. And so I am making this a reality. It's happening, and so that's my number one goal right now. Other than that, I'm talking to a lot of different companies. Like I said, I'm consulting here, consulting there, doing a little bit of writing stuff, but for the most part, it's I'm kind of being flexible. I'm literally kind of waiting to see what happens. Like I've gone through a lot of different interviews, and it's a goofy time, man. There's like a lot of weird stagey stuff that's happening with different people, and they get excited about you. And I've gotten off the phone so many times, been like, well, that was really cool, that was great, I really love talking to him or her, and it worked out really well. And like I'm expecting a phone call, and then you get the yeah, thanks, but no thanks, we're just not sure right now at this time. And you're like, what? Okay, you just got to move on. I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, okay, next. I'm, again, nothing personal, I'm moving forward. So goals are, for me, one is my project right now. I have to sell this. You got to get it made, and I will, and it is, and then after that, do another one. Yeah.
Do another one.
Yeah. Well, we actually do have a couple spinning, and there's other different people I'm talking to about different things. So
yeah. Very, very cool. So personal question, how's the wine in Napa right now?
The wine is good, man. The wine keeps me even keeled. It's all about running in the morning, drinking wine at night. Just balance. I just as you know, I'm a big wine aficionado. I love my wines from all over the place, mostly California wines. We do have a place up in Santa Barbara, so we go up there, and it's Central Coast, baby. It's all about Robles and Los Olivos and all those things. It's really good stuff. So yummy.
Oh, hold on.
Enjoying it. Yeah,
I'm drooling a little. Sorry, hold on.
It's almost 4 o'clock here, so don't tempt me.
It's almost 10 a.m. here, so I'm like, I can't get on that right now. I got an hour.
You're like, is it too early to be drinking right now?
Yeah, I could do a rosé. Like,
yeah.
Who's going to judge a mimosa right now?
Nice and light, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because we are, we're surrounded by Australian wines. That's our main thing, and they've gotten a lot better. I got to tell you, we've been here for 7 months now, and I just go get it, and I'm like, that's a good one. We tried that. Yeah, that's a good one. I
like Australian wines. They're good. The Shiraz.
Shiraz. Yeah, Shiraz.
Shiraz. Shiraz is the same thing as the Syrah, correct?
Syrah and Shiraz, I think they're the same thing, maybe. I don't know. A buddy of mine is a sommelier. I'll ask him. But whenever they say it, it's always like, it's great. It's Shiraz. Yeah, it's great.
Shiraz. Is it Shiraz? I didn't know Shiraz. That's nice to know. But I think it's the same thing as a Syrah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it is.
It's Australian. It's Syrah.
It's great. It's been a wild trip down here. So
it's funny.
When it opens up, come down and see us.
I will. I would love it. It's the only place. Not the only place, but it's one of the few places I've never been.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Oh, I've been down there 8 times. I've driven over more of Australia than most Australians, and I got a buddy of mine. Looks like we're going to do a Mad Max trip. We're going to go out in the middle of the outback for like 3-4 days, and there's nothing.
Wow.
For those 3 or 4 days, you will see not another human soul. Cool. And I'm like, oh boy.
I love that.
So that's going to be interesting. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. And is there anything that you would like to, if anybody wants to get in connection with you, if you want to give any websites or anything for you to pitch, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't really have anything right now. I just, my LinkedIn account is probably the best way to get a hold of me and see, my latest dates. Although I still got to update that because I did some other work that I need to put on there. But that's about it. I don't like to, give out my email and stuff like that, but just because I probably won't get back to everybody. And again, nothing personal. It's just a matter of time and all that jazz. Sure. But yeah, and stay tuned for my next project because I'm excited about this one. It's
excellent. I look forward to hearing about it because I know it's going to be amazing. Yeah. So, well, then I'll wrap this up. Oh, Kim says hello.
Okay.
And she says she's looking forward to a strategy call with you. So you guys got to connect because she's doing amazing things down here. By the way,
a long time in the making. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're all connected here real well. So. Thank you so much for coming on the Mind Scrambler podcast. It has been a pleasure catching up with you, my friend. And I'm here anytime. We've got Zoom, StreamYard, whatever it is. And if I can ever be of service to you as well,
Well, a pleasure for me to be here. So thank you for reaching out and being on it because, there's times where I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that right now because I'm being pulled this way or whatever, but you were consistent about it. And I was like, yeah, man, I really did want to do it. I was just like, I'm getting pulled in different directions. And, I just sometimes need to be pulled back and I do like to be a man of my word. So I'm glad we did it.
Absolutely. All right. Last thing, is there anything you would like to tell anybody who's struggling or anything right now, any words of affirmation you can throw at them real fast?
Let me think, just, be brave, be strong and do it. A lot of people sometimes come up to me and they go, well, I really want to do this. I want to do that. And I wasn't really sure. I just do it. Just do something. Actually do something that you consider to be unreasonable. Do it tomorrow, for example, it could be going through all your emails. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's like signing up for a marathon, or if it's running a block. Or getting up, my creative partner said to me, hey, I got to go running tomorrow, but I got to do it at 7:15. And at first I was like, no, that's too early. And I thought, why? Why can't I get up at 5 and go running? You can if you want. So that's my thing is nobody's telling you what you can and cannot do. You can do whatever you want. If it's not working for you today, you can make it better tomorrow. And that's the bottom line. So do something unreasonable. What you consider to be unreasonable. Just do it.
I love that. That is perfect. That is amazing stuff, my friend. All right. Well, thank you so much, Rich. I'm going to end it right here. This has been the Mind Scrambler podcast with Rich Magallanes. And thank you for listening and watching. And we'll see you on the next Mind Scrambler.